Hello you guys, it's Grace, and today I am going to be doing my first book haul of 2022. I have this big box of books here. Most of the books I'm going to talk about in this video were from Book Outlet and were books I ordered for myself, but a few of them were gifts or books I ordered from Amazon or Barnes & Noble to add to series I already owned. Without further ado, let's jump right in and get started with the books that I recently got. The first book I purchased is Legendary by Stephanie Garber. This is the second book in the Caraval series, and I have had Caraval and Finale, the third book, for a really long time, and I never had the second book. So I finally decided I was going to read this trilogy. I read the first book a while ago, so I reread the first book and then ordered the second book, and I'm about halfway through right now, and I'm really enjoying it, so I can't wait to finish this trilogy. Next up, I have Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare. This is the second book in the Last Hours trilogy. I believe the third book comes out in November of this year, so I'm really excited to get around to this trilogy. I think I'm going to wait until the third book comes out so I can marathon the trilogy, but I got this book for a Christmas gift and I'm super excited to get around to it sometime this year. Next up, I have one of the books that I got from our local bookstore, and that is November 9 by Colleen Hoover. This book sounds so fun. I have yet to read a Colleen Hoover book, and I've heard so many good things about her writing, so I'm super excited to get to this one. Our main character, Fallon, meets Ben the day she is scheduled to move to LA. So they end up spending the day together, and then she moves. She becomes the inspiration for Ben's new novel, and every year they end up meeting on the same day. And I guess it's just kind of the story of their relationship that they form every November 9th every year. And it just sounds really interesting, really lighthearted and fun, and I'm excited to give it a try. I think I'm going to read this one in early November, so it just fits with the title of the book and what's happening in it. And then the second book I got from that bookstore is No Longer Human by Osamu Dazai. So this is apparently semi-autobiographical, so the main character is not named after the author, but their life story is fairly similar. So I'm just gonna read a snippet on the back because I feel like it describes it better than I ever could. Portraying himself as a failure, the protagonist of Osamu Dazai's No Longer Human narrates a seemingly normal life, even while he feels himself incapable of understanding human beings. Oba Yozo's attempts to reconcile himself to the world around him begin in early childhood, continue through high school, where he becomes a clown to mask his alienation, and eventually lead to a failed suicide attempt as an adult. Without sentimentality, he records the casual cruelties of life and its fleeting moments of human connection and tenderness. The author actually was the basis for Dazai's character in Bungo Stray Dogs, which is an anime that I really enjoy, so I'm excited to give this a try and kind of see those parallels between Dazai, the anime character, and this author and the character in this novel. Next up, I have a couple books from Barnes & Noble. First off, we have Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. This is the first book in I think a quartet, if I remember correctly. I have two of the books over there on my shelf, and I have been wanting to get around to the series, but I didn't have Stalking Jack the Ripper or Hunting Prince Dracula, so I ended up picking up both of these, and I thought they'd be kind of fun to read in Halloween time, but I might get around to them before then. The little blurb on the back of this sounds so interesting. It says, "He murdered women in cold blood. He terrorized an entire city. He taunted those of us who hunted him down. But despite all these horrors, in the end, I could not deny it. I was the girl who loved the Ripper." It just sounds really interesting, and I'm kind of pumped to get a fictional take on Jack the Ripper and some other interesting stories as well. Okay, now the last section, all of these books are from Book Outlet. I had a little late night shopping spree. So some of these books I've heard of, and I looked up and tried to find them, and others were just recommended to me, and I read the synopsis and they just interested me. So let's jump right in, and I'm gonna give like a brief synopsis of these books as well in case you guys are interested in purchasing any of them. So first off, we have Love Your Life by Sophie Kinsella. I've heard really good things about this author. When I saw this book pop up in my recommended list, I decided to check it out, and after reading the synopsis, it sounded so funny, and I feel like I could really relate to the main character. It follows our main character, Ava, as she heads out on a writer's retreat in Italy, and it sounds kind of like she's a little bit pessimistic about love after a recent breakup, and as she's writing, she ends up meeting this other guy on the writer's retreat, and it kind of explores like their little love shenanigans while they're on this writer's retreat. And then when they return to London and try to get to know each other in real life, things start to get a little more complicated, and they start to wonder if they are actually compatible outside of this writer's retreat. So it sounds really good, and I think I will really enjoy Ava's perspective as our main character, and I'm just really pumped to give this a try, maybe in spring, like when I'm in a contemporary mood, but possibly sooner than that as well. Then I have Wilder Girls by Rory Powers. This one I've seen around a lot, but I never really knew much about the premise. So basically it sounds like people start dying from this thing called the tox, and it basically explores the girls of this school called Raxter School, and then one of the students goes missing, and it's kind of the main character trying to find her friend and them surviving this thing called the tox, which kind of, you know, seems like a fitting time to read about something like that during a pandemic, so kind of pumped. And then next up I have A Vow So Bold and Deadly by Bridget Kemmerer. This is the third book in the A Curse So Dark and Lonely series, and I'm really pumped about this. I loved the first two books in this trilogy, and I have been wanting to get around to this one for a really long time, so I will definitely be reading this sometime in the near future. Next up we have The Best Laid Plans by Cameron Lund. This was one of the like deal of the day books, so it was like $2, and I decided I might as well pick it up and give it a try. This follows Keely as she is the only virgin left in her group of friends. So she meets this guy, and it seems like he is perfect and just super attractive, but he is in college, so she feels a little bit intimidated by the experience he might have. So she ends up making a deal with her best friend Andrew, and they decide to kind of test the waters, kind of experiment a little bit before she goes all the way with this new college boy. I think that's about the premise. That's kind of what I got out of the synopsis, so I'm kind of excited to give this one a try too. Next up we have Tweet Cute by Emma Lord. This one sounds super funny. Basically we have Pepper. She's kind of an overachiever, perfectionist type person, and their fast food chain is booming. And she also runs a Twitter called Big League Burgers. And then Jack is the other character, and his family owns a small deli. Big League Burgers steals their famous grilled cheese recipe, and this sparks kind of a Twitter feud between Pepper and Jack, but they don't know that they are Pepper and Jack. When they start to fall for each other on an anonymous chat app, things get a little complicated, and then people start shipping them based on this feud over the Twitter accounts. So it sounds really funny and a little bit quirky and like a really good time. So I'm excited to give this one a try too. And then we have American Royals by Catherine McGee. This one has been recommended to me on several different places, so I wanted to give it a try. I'm not really sure 100% what it's about, so I'm just gonna read the synopsis. Like most royal families, the Washingtons have an heir and a spare. Each child knows exactly what is expected of them, but these aren't just any royals, they're American. As Princess Beatrice gets closer to becoming America's first queen regent, the duty she has embraced her entire life suddenly becomes stifling. Nobody cares about the spare except when she's breaking the rules, so Princess Samantha doesn't care much about anything either, except the one boy who's off limits. Then there's Samantha's twin, Prince Jefferson. If he'd been born a generation earlier, he would have stood first in line for the throne, but the new laws of succession make him third. Most of America adores their handsome prince, but two very different girls are vying to capture his heart. It sounds like there's a lot of drama, it sounds like a very interesting premise, and I'm looking forward to picking this up at some point in the near future. And then last but not least, we have Tokyo Ever After by Emiko Jean. And fun fact, the blurb on this is actually from the author of American Royals. This one has been on my radar for a really long time. I really want to go to Tokyo at some point, so I'm very intrigued by that aspect of it. So I'm going to read the synopsis for this one as well because I think it describes it really well. It's not easy being Japanese American in her small, mostly white, Northern California town. Raised by a single mother, Izumi, or Izzy because it's easier this way, has always felt it's been her and her mom against the world. But then Izumi discovers a clue to her previously unknown father's identity, and he's none other than the Crown Prince of Japan, which means outspoken, irreverent Izzy is literally a princess. Yeah, I'm really excited about this one, and the sequel to this book also comes out this year, so I'm really excited to get to this one and the sequel in 2022. That is it for my first book haul of 2022. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm really excited to get to all of these books this year. I always get so excited whenever I order books about the possibilities of just having new books on my bookshelf. I'm also planning on reorganizing my bookshelf today, so I'm really excited to do that as well because it needs a little bit of a facelift. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it. Comment below some interesting books you have gotten recently, and subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to hit that bell icon so you get notified whenever I upload a new video. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!